So how many of you believe in miracles? Most of you. Not everyone, it seems. Well, maybe by the end of this service you will. How many of you have experienced a miracle in your life? There are many miracles, and there are many kinds of miracles. I think that one of the kind of miracles that I have found most interesting lately is the miracle of transformation of a person's soul. And I see that happening in people often. It is that moment when someone is in the midst of great turmoil or problem or trying to deal with their past life where there was some kind of abuse or whatever has happened to them, and they're stuck in that place when all of a sudden they become still and they take a moment, and it's like the dawn breaks. And all of a sudden they see things totally differently, from a different perspective, from a place where they haven't been before. And when that happens, it is a miraculous thing. It's a miracle. There are so many kinds of miracles. There are healing miracles. There are miracles of abundance. And the dictionary has a definition of miracles, and it defines a miracle as an event or an effect in the physical world deviating from the known laws of nature or transcending our knowledge of these laws. According to this definition, Jesus did perform miracles. Metaphysically, a miracle is explained as being the outcome of our obedience to divine law. And Jesus was totally in the realization that God worked through him. I believe that the feeding of the 5,000 is a wonderful example of a miracle. And it's a wonderful example because in the story it shows us what Jesus does. And Jesus lifts his eyes to the heaven and thanks God. Now, we might think that Jesus thought that God was up there in heaven someplace with some loaves and fishes that he was going to send down. But we know in Unity that that's not the case. And we also know that what Jesus was doing was he was looking to his higher self. He was not looking, to someplace else. He was looking within himself to the Christ that was him. And he knew that. And that's where he went. He went to that place where miracles happen. It's that place of power. It's that place where we go when we need help. We go within to the Christ Spirit within us. And as he did that, he gave thanks. And we know that gratitude is one of the greatest things that we can do in order to bring good to us, is to be grateful for the things that we already have. And another thing that I believe is, I think that probably Jesus loved those few little loaves and fishes that belonged to that little boy for his lunch so much that they could not help but multiply. Because when we really truly love something in a very pure way, we cannot help but attract it in our lives. Eric Butterworth says this: the feeding of the 5,000 is usually considered one of the great miracles of the Bible. But what is a miracle? In this orderly universe that is regulated by changeless law, it is inconceivable that natural law can be abrogated. We use the word supernatural, but what do we mean by this? The supernatural of today becomes the natural of tomorrow. Well, it's not tomorrow, or maybe it is tomorrow, because it's really happening right now. We're seeing it happen all around us. We've been hearing about it for years, about quantum physics, quantum mechanics. We've been hearing all of these scientific things that people have been doing, and they've been working hard to find that particle that is the particle. And this week, they made an announcement that science has just discovered a new particle by the name of the Higgs boson, which some has dubbed as the God particle. And I believe that this is exactly what Charles Filmer was talking about when he talked about substance. I think that this is where manifestation comes from. It comes from this invisible substance that Charles was always talking about, that we said, but really didn't understand. So, we've been talking about this for over 100 years, and others have been talking about it even before that. But there is no supernatural. There is only God's great natural. And there is no miracle. There is only the ever-present possibility of laying hold of divine law on higher and higher levels. And that's what we're looking to do. And we sometimes call ourselves truth seekers. But I would like for us to kind of maybe drop that, because as long as we're seeking, we simply can't find, because what we do is we go window shopping. And as we're window shopping, we pick up a little bit here, and we pick up a little bit there, and we see an idea over here, and we see something else over here. And as we do that, we are so busy picking up information and putting it in our brains that we forget that the reason that we're doing this is to live out of that knowledge that we already have. And we forget the fact that the Spirit is within us with all knowledge that there is. We really don't have to look out there. You really don't have to come to church. But I didn't really say that. It is a part of what we are, and we are drawn to this. We are totally drawn to that feeling and knowing that within us is this information. If we could just remind ourselves, and that's what we come here for. You don't come here to hear me say something that you don't already know, because you already know it. It's already here. That's why when you hear something that resonates with you, you say, yeah, of course that's the way it is. Otherwise, you wouldn't come here at all, because what I said would make absolutely no sense to you. When Jesus gave us the guidelines for prayer, he focused on the I am presence of God within him. You know, when Moses saw the burning bush and said, "What is your name?" It said, "I am that I am." And that is the same I am that is within us. And one of the things that we sometimes forget about is that I amness can be used both on a physical level and on a spiritual level. And so sometimes we find ourselves saying things that we really don't mean, and we say, I am sick. I am tired. We do not want to connect that I am with those sorts of things. We want to connect the I am to the truth that is within us with a capital T. It is the truth that is within us, that I am perfect life. I am perfect health. I am perfect abundance. Whatever it may be, the I am is the very presence of God in us. And when Jesus spoke from his Christ self, and you can see in the Bible when he's speaking from the Christ of himself and when he's speaking from the human part of who he is. And when he affirmed the truth of his being, he said, I am the bread of life. And in the scriptures, whenever you find a statement like that, you often find that there's a story that follows it someplace close by that actually takes him to where he wanted to be. I am the bread of life. It was close to the feeding of the 5,000. And when he affirmed, "I am the resurrection and the life," it was very close to the time when he raised Lazarus from the dead. He was focused on the truth of his being. That's where he stayed. That's where we want to stay. We need to stay focused on the truth of our being. We cannot be going off here and going off there. And when we catch ourselves saying things and attaching the I am to something that we don't really want in our life, we have to bring ourselves back and bring ourselves back quickly. You know, it's actually a miracle that we don't have real problems in our lives that we've never thought of, because we often say things like that. But I think we live in grace most of the time, and thank God for that. Jesus was focusing on the truth of his being. And that's what affirmative prayer is all about. It's not about making yourself into something that you're not. You know, we say fake it till you make it. Okay, that works. That works. But this is you're not really faking it. It's really true about you if you can just grasp it. When you can have that opening of the clouds and actually see that, yes, indeed, there is something within you that you never knew existed. He was focusing on his truth. It's our truth as well. And that's an important distinction and an important realization to make. The quantum physics people have been inadvertently dismantling early science that based their theories on a compelling but defunct story about an objectively knowable universe, leaving us little room to wander out in the open how seemingly impossible miracles can happen. We are closed because we think that we have an overall picture of how life really is, when in reality we haven't spent enough time dreaming about what life can be. We are so busy that we don't take time to lie down in the grass and look at the clouds. That we don't take time to spend time in meditation and in the quiet of our being to really see. I don't know about you, but I was lucky. I grew up in a family that I had those times. But I know of families where if the children weren't doing something, they were chastised for it. Doing seemed to be the thing to do, when as a child we should have been dreaming, and we should have been taking the time to create within our soul a richness that we could use later on.